Are you ready for some absolutely amazing Bethesda fanboy copium? How great and perfect Starfield is?
Alright, so here we go. We've got some wild news about Starfield's success, and later in this video, some big Elder Scrolls 6 news as well.
Oh boy.
One of the biggest features of Starfield is proving, at least for some, to be one of its biggest missteps, and could haunt the game forever unless...
I mean, we can just take a guess what he's talking about here. The graphics, the planetary exploration, the loading screens, the fast travel, the dialogues, the gameplay, the menus, the weapons, the talent points. Oh man, there's so many options. I wonder which one is he gonna pick.
Bethesda decides to make a major alteration to this feature, and there's been a lot of complaints about the lack of features for Outpost. Well, wait until you see what this player built after 100 hours. It is insane. And Starfield accidentally generated this, I kid you not. Finally, yes, it does actually exist. But yes, check this out right here. First and foremost, we have Leonardo DiCaprio in Starfield. This one comes from Big Chungus Supremix right there. But yeah, that is actually...
Wow! Not like we could have already done that in Fallout 4. Yeah. Not that that's already a thing that existed before. Yeah. Wow.
On point.
Impressive.
Wow, you get super accurate with the character creator, it seems, for sure. But yeah, we got to talk about some wild news about Starfield's success right here. Check it out. It is the 5th fastest selling game in Europe this year. It's also reportedly the biggest Xbox launch this generation, ahead of Forza Horizon 5. But also, get this, the article goes on to...
I love this scope. What's wrong with Xbox and Starfield Bethesda fanboys with all needing to claim that Starfield is a success? It's not. 30% of people playing on Steam couldn't even get past the first hour of this game, judging from the achievements. No one likes it. Everyone's just talking how bad it is. It was on Game Pass day one, so it actually sells because even Xbox understood, wait a minute, this game is garbage. If we don't put this on day one on Game Pass, it's not going to sell a single copy. Which they did, because they were afraid. You don't put a new game, a new IP by a studio like Bethesda on Game Pass unless you are literally expecting it to flop without reason, unbelievably hard. And it did. And it absolutely did. Also, notice that there's not saying in the world, but in Europe. Okay, not the world, but in Europe. Also, it's only the 5th most selling game in the Europe, which doesn't mean it's good. You know, it got beaten by any... You know, this is a AAA game by one of the most well-known studios in the world. Diablo 4, well, is technically a better game than Starfield, but Diablo 4 is shit still. And it was the most selling game in the world. And Bethesda doesn't even. Bethesda needs to try and say, "Oh, we did good because we sold the 5th best in Europe." Bruh, Forklift Simulator probably beat you in Europe.
Describe, but this doesn't even account for Game Pass numbers at all, and that is saying something. Look at the chart here. It says European 2023 Week 1 sales. You can see Starfield is sitting there in 5th, just behind Star Wars Jedi Survivor, The Legend of Zelda, Diablo 4, and then
Yeah, I mean, Starfield is 5th, and then Resident Evil 4 is 6th, which, you know, Resident Evil is a good game, but it's actually kind of niche, if we're being honest. And then there's Final Fantasy 16. And Final Fantasy is, like, super popular. Guess where? America. Not actually Europe. Final Fantasy is, you know, decently popular in Europe, but it's not the big thing, okay? And Starfield barely inched out a win against these two things. It's pathetic.
Hogwarts Legacy.
And again, it's literally just Europe.
Is number 1 right there. But again, it's pretty impressive that it's sitting at number 5 without considering what's going on with Game Pass at all. That is insane right there. Now, we also got to talk about a very big feature for Starfield. This is a monumental feature, that some people are feeling like is a huge misstep for this game. And they're also feeling like Bethesda needs to make some sort of adjustment to this with either some sort of update or patch. Check it out right here. This comes from Forbes. It says right here,
Bethesda will never update anything.
Starfield's Eternal New Game Plus loop was not a good decision by Bethesda. Oh, really? So let me know if you agree with this one or not. Let's get into the nitty gritty, shall we? Now, there's parts of this article that I'm not going to read, by the way, because it would be considered spoilerific. So we're still going to avoid spoilers, of course. I think a lot of you are through the game, but still, I'm not going to chance it. However, with that being said, one of the core issues with New Game Plus is that a lot of people feel like you're missing out on a lot of the cool secrets that it offers. And we also have this big one right here as well. It says New Game Plus works better in single player games that are not heavily reliant on looting and crafting and building. But even in those games, you often get to keep the weapons you've acquired in new playthroughs, maybe upping the difficulty as you go. That's what I always assumed, no matter what New Game Plus means, is that you're heading into a new game experience with your weapons intact, and you just get to face off against more powerful foes or variations of those foes that offer new types of powers or challenges. But yeah, let's keep going because there apparently is even more problems with this New Game Plus. And again, I really do think Bethesda needs to revisit this with some sort of up.
I don't think this is a problem. This is probably a hot take, but I don't think this is a problem because, like, what? Maybe 0.02% of the player base have finished this game or are planning to finish this game. Who cares?
And perhaps offer us another alternative, so perhaps maybe we can keep our weapons and most notably our ships that we work so hard to create. So check it out. It says in Starfield you lose everything, all your weapons and armor, all your credits, every quest.
Well, yeah, that's how the story is supposed to go, I guess, even though it's a shit story.
Is wiped, and New Game Plus only gives you the chance to skip the main quest. But it's not just that. In a game that encourages creative ship and base building, you lose all of that.
Base building is useless. Ship building is useless. Why even encourage it?
All of your designs and materials and whatever you built to that point. And for a game that encourages exploration, you lose all of your survey data on however many worlds you've bothered to catalog.
Cataloging worlds is the most stupidest thing you can do in this game, and if you're doing that, you are blatantly insane.
To me, that's just crazy. Like, that is losing a lot and asking for the player to sacrifice almost too much. Now, New Game Plus is definitely for the few that can actually stomach that sort of loss and just be like, you know what? I'm willing to start fresh. Let me know if that is you or not. But
look
man,
at this.
Giving up your ships, especially in this game, is extremely rough considering how much time it takes to actually...
How has he wasted 100 bullets in this minor exchange? Let's check.
Price almost too much. Now, New Game Plus is definitely for the few that can actually stomach that sort of loss and just be like, you know what? I'm willing to start fresh. Let me know if that is you or not. But man, giving up your ships, especially in this game, is extremely rough considering how much time it takes to actually craft and create those ships. At least let us carry over blueprints to those ships so we can just load up the blueprint.
Oh, no. My fault. Only 3 clips. Something like 80 bullets. Oh, it's not a bit. No, actually. No, yeah. It's something like... No, it's almost 100 bullets. 90 bullets or something like that. 96 bullets. He used 4 clips. Well, actually, he didn't use the full... Now, this is the gameplay of gods. I mean, this is literally your average gameplay, so, you know.
Very easily or something. Alright, next up we have this. Why? Why would they design a game like this? I understand that many people start new save files in Bethesda games to do new characters, make new decisions, and try different builds, but you do not erase your old character to do that. And in this version, the one thing you cannot do is try a new build because Bethesda will not let you remove any of your skill points and put them somewhere else for any reasons. So if you were a combat character and you want to start exploring and base building better instead, you have to crawl your way through higher levels to get those skill points now, which takes way, way longer than before. Yeah, there's no respec.
Yeah, this is why New Game Plus doesn't make sense in a Bethesda game, honestly. Because, well, if you want to do something, if you want to do a different build, you just make a new character. That's kind of how it goes. That's kind of how it works, you know? But I guess they don't. Bethesda fanboys don't.
In this game. And it's interesting. We're going to keep going here because the question I have again is like, wouldn't you rather create a new character with a different background story, background traits, perks, you know?
The background story sucks. It's boring. It does nothing. It adds nothing.
That stuff? That's the question, because New Game Plus definitely does not offer that whatsoever. Now it says that depends, but I think there are a few things to consider. New Game Plus does not allow you to alter your origin story of inborn traits. While you can remove those traits in the game itself, as far as I know, you cannot get new ones. So to experiment with how others feel, you'd have to create an entirely new character. Yeah, exactly. You also cannot respec skill points. If you want to do a different build in a new role, you have to just add another build on top of your current build, which will take a lot longer because leveling will be slower at higher levels. That's such a great point. You will eventually stop being challenged. The game does not scale terribly well in terms of presenting challenges on very hard difficulty, at least with a combat heavy build. Once you get enough skill points, the game will really stop being hard at any difficulty level, except for maybe some space fights. This will only change on the new save file when you're back to level 1, when the game is very hard on very hard. So yeah, the article does go into more spoilerific stuff, so we're going to avoid that and stop it there. But yes, New Game Plus is definitely this very interesting blend of things that
New Game Plus is not an interesting blend of anything. I don't know who honestly cares about New Game Plus in this game. If you want to experience a different character, you just make a new character. New Game Plus makes no sense. It's just supposed to be like this, oh, look at how deep the story is. Look, it's almost like time travel. We're Bethesda, we're so deep. Yeah, that's what New Game Plus is supposed to be. You're supposed to quit your character and start a new one.
I really do like the concepts of, you know, hidden secrets within the game that you can experience throughout the entirety of the game. Again, not going to go into too much detail there.
What kind of hidden secrets do you experience through the game?
But at the same time, you know, I think there needs to be an offering here within New Game Plus, or a third option, to where you are like, hey, I do want to keep my weapons. I do want to keep, you know, my bases, my spaceships, and that sort of stuff, and still have the opportunity to discover these really cool secrets that are here. Of course, I think that might conflict with what they're trying to tell with this story. A lot of you
I literally don't know what he means by cool secrets, by the way. I'm clueless. What kind of cool secrets are you supposed to find in Starfield?
Like, yeah, that wouldn't make any sense to do that. But then again, yeah, New Game Plus for me personally is sitting at a weird spot right now. Let me know if you're the same way, of course. I just have such a tough time hopping into New Game Plus right now, knowing that I have to give up the spaceship that I have crafted and built, and it took forever, you know, to actually craft. That's rough. So yeah, there's been a lot of complaints about the Outpost building in Starfield, that it pales in comparison to Fallout 4, for example. But one player said, hell no, check out what I built after 100 hours. Check it out right here. Comes from Rebs Gaming. An entire factory was created in Starfield with the Outpost builder tool by Hackooks, I believe it is. They spent 100 hours creating this without...
Outpost build... Wait. Creating this without any mods to show other players what's possible. Here's... what?
Any mods to show other players what's possible with the Outpost building. Here's a video
show
of their
the
build
pictures.
process. But here's the original post from him. He says, for all of you hating on Outpost, this is what 100 plus hours and dedication gets you. I present to you my factory.
I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but then again, I don't actually care. Like, Outposts are not supposed to be, you know, looking good. Outposts were just like a throwaway thing Bethesda added into their games. They're just supposed to get resources for you, and that's kind of it. Relax.
still work in progress. This is crazy. Check it out right here. Here is slide 1. We have 4 images showcasing the monster factory he was able to create. This is insanely impressive.
Also, by the way, this is so redundantly useless. It actually makes my mind hurt.
And I was wondering,
there's no
what,
point in
the
this.
community was going to be able to create, and we're finally starting to see the results of Outpost building. Again, that's not to say, of course, that Outpost building doesn't need improvements. They do need to get it onto the level, in my opinion, of Fallout 4. I totally agree with a lot of you on that one. It would be cool if they update. But we also have this strange take on Starfield right here. Check it out. It says, God of War Ragnarok main story takes 26 hours to complete the main story.
I know what this is gonna be. But you're supposed to do side quests, and then the story is more than 3 hours long. That's gonna be the thing.
Over 5 million cells, the completion rate was approximately 25%. Starfield has been available for 2 weeks now and only takes 19 hours to complete and has a completion rate of under 3%. What is going on here?
No one's... Dude, this is what I said at the start with the Steam achievements. It is very clear that 90% of the player base is quitting this game probably after, hour 10 of this game. Or maybe probably even hour 5. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. But, there are some achievements that can guide us on how many people actually quit this game and when they quit it.
Well, this sums it up right here. Kareem says this: tell me you've never played a Bethesda game without telling me you never have played a Bethesda game. It's like, what happens in a Bethesda game is usually you go to a faction quest and you're lost in that faction.
Usually, but this time there's no faction quest to be lost in. For example, I saw a great video about the pirate faction quest. So there's this head honcho pirate, right? And then under him there's a smaller pirate that wants to kill him and take his throne and whatnot and blah blah blah. And that smaller pirate is like, hey, new guy who I know for 5 seconds, do you want to overthrow the current pirate leader? And you're like, no, I'm loyal to him. And he's like, that's sad. And you can't kill him for that. He tells you he wants to overthrow your boss. You can't even shoot him for that. Well, you can, but he's invulnerable. You can't shoot him. You can't tell on him. You can't do anything. And then he asks you like 5 more times, hey, how about now? Maybe you want to overthrow him now? And you're like, no. Dude, the fact that he tells you that and you can't instantaneously just kill him, and that's not even an option, is so dumb.
Quest for like hours and hours, and then you pick up this side activity, then you're like, wait, I want to try building an outpost. No, hold up. I want to try crafting a ship. I want to mess around with my weapons. It's a totally different experience from God of War Ragnarok. And even God of War Ragnarok was semi-open world, and the mileage varies from...
Essentially, the cope here, by the way, is... the game's so big and fun, obviously no one wants to do the main quest because, all the other things are just so fun and cool in this game.
From how quickly
Which is
everyone
not
went
true.
through that main story arc in that game as well. I took my time. I really...
Find me someone who's not a Bethesda or Xbox fanboy and ask them what they think about this game. It's gonna be like a 5 out of 10 at the best day.
Really enjoy the side activities and that sort of thing in God of War Ragnarok. So yeah, the whole discussion is just ridiculous in my opinion. Now, we gotta talk about a feature in Starfield that some people are saying is just terrible and needs to be expanded upon and revisited. Hopefully, perhaps through some sort of DLC or update. Check it out right here. It goes on to say this.
DLC.
Smuggling is terrible. This comes from JTB 1997, who says this: what is the point of...
Okay, so, yeah. But what isn't terrible in Starfield?
Having shielded cargo when I could sell contraband at the den every time. People have already talked about the sell value of contraband, which I also believe is dumb. You should have fences in the major cities that would buy contraband for a significant increased price for you smuggling it into the city. Great point. And Aurora is the biggest drug contraband in this game when it comes to lore, legality. It is a hassle to craft and has no real incentive to get into the business of selling it outside of Neon. You should be able to buy in Neon or craft more easily from buying the fish oil on Neon and smuggle it off-world to sell on planets where it will be a high demand and high price. That only makes sense.
Now you see, this person has made a typical Bethesda fanboy mistake. He thinks that Bethesda actually thought about these mechanics. They didn't. They just implemented rudimentary things that could almost create a mechanic. They never cared to actually make it usable. They just care that it exists and it's bad and no one wants to use it. They don't care about anything else but just adding it. Maybe a mod will fix this, who knows, right?
Sense. I wanted to get rich from smuggling in this game, but this feature seems extremely broken and irrelevant. What do you all think? Do you think they will make changes to this mechanic, or will we have to rely on mods to make it more sense?
Of course.
And he does say this, loving all the replies. Glad to see I'm not the only one that feels this way. Some of you have some great ideas on how to fix it, but it seems the main problem that would fix this and other similar issues is fixing the economy as a whole.
And there we go. There we go. The typical, well, you know, this is a slight problem here, but it kind of gets encapsulated by the whole problem that Starfield is shit. And there we go. It's from, well, the Oregon part is kind of bad. No, the whole economy is actually bad and needs to be fixed. Yeah, that seems about right.
Hopefully Bethesda works on this and doesn't just rely on modders to do it for them. I'm kind of curious because they're already interested in updating things that I honestly thought they would not be touching. I thought for sure they would be like, city maps, they don't need them. And it seems like we are going to be getting city maps. So maybe, just maybe, they can fine-tune the economy. I would really love...
Imagine thinking that maps are useless in the first place. It's beautiful.
For them to explore the smuggling opportunities that are currently not present in the game. But mentioning that, we have kind of a follow-up post here. It says, there should be an option for us lawful good players to turn in contraband to authorities. This comes from Likeable Error.
Are you kidding me? That sounds like actual roleplay. Obviously, this is never going to be in the game. What? Man, Bethesda is offended just reading this.
First playthrough, I'm a law and order type who's trying to clean up the galaxy. When I find contraband, I usually collect it and then store it on a pirate ship that I've boarded. I then undock and destroy the ship, atomizing the contraband and all claim to it. Well, that's actually pretty cool. I love
that. Sounds like 5 load. No, this sounds like 10 loading screens of work in roughly 30 seconds of gameplay.
Of that kind of like storytelling he's giving himself, you know. Now it says, however, more and more I feel there should be an option once you've aligned yourself with the UC Vanguard or Freestar Rangers to turn in the collected contraband for a small finder's fee, 500 credits, a piece or something, plus some experience. That might give me more incentive to seek it out. I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer, and it makes me wonder why it wasn't included in the game design. If I'm dumb and that's already an option, please let me know. Anyway, I'm just looking for an option when you enter a scan system to declare contraband or something, you know, like I'm with the USC Vanguard, I have contraband to hand over. That would be a sweet addition. Dude, that would be amazing. And it would give you like less of a reason to be so fearful of having contraband on your ship. However, I do feel like you would have to be part of one of those factions, the lawful factions of the game, for that feature to be kind of implemented. Because if you're just like some citizen with contraband, I don't think that would make much sense.
Well, nothing makes a lot of sense as a Bethesda
game. That would
game.
Be just your way of trying to work your way out of something, you know, out of going to prison.
Easter eggs.
So yeah, I love that idea.
Elder Scrolls
Also,
updates.
We have this one right.
Bruh, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be made on this same dogshit engine, by the way.
Here, there's no reason for vendors to have so little credits for this time and time again, and it seems like you guys keep mentioning it out in the community Reddits and the forums. That was
Don't worry, a
by
mod will
Lord
fix it.
Mainstream, and yeah, that definitely needs to be adjusted. Now, there's also a mini game that does occur that was mentioned out on the community subreddit that is through the story. I'm not going to get into it too much. Again, I don't want to spoil anything just in case. You never know. But I'm sure most of you have experienced it. You guys know what I'm talking about as far as the main story arc, and that's what I'm going to leave it at. But there was a post here that I can't show, but I wanted to highlight some of my thoughts about this. I think they really need to do something with this mini game to change it up, because if you're going to be playing this story over and over and over again, that one mini game that reoccurs throughout the story is so boring in my personal opinion, and I think it's very redundant and they need to add something to it for sure. All right, so this was accidentally generated by the game. Finally, it actually does exist. Check it out. My game accidentally generated a river. This comes from Bearpaw 5000.
Bruh. Wow. I mean, that's actually kind of impressive, I guess.
And look at it. It's beautiful. You don't see it every day.
No, actually, it's not beautiful, but I didn't know the game can do this.
Starfield, but guess what? It actually does exist. Hey, that's kind of looking like Skyrim right there. And it kind of makes you wonder why.
Maybe because it's the same engine.
There's so few.
Because, yes, this engine is like 20 years old.
Few rivers, you know, generated on random planets. I mean, they do exist. Don't get me wrong. But I also wonder if it's to try to keep, like, Starfield very much unique in its identity compared to other Bethesda offerings.
Imagine, dude, that's the highest level of cope I have ever heard in my life. Yes, maybe Bethesda's trying to make Starfield feel unique by not having rivers in its universe. I can't. I'm sorry, I just can't. The cope, the fucking cope we constantly get from open world games about this is just next level.
Like Skyrim.
Oh no!
To make sure that, hey, this feels like you're in space. No! Of course, that could be not the case whatsoever. But yeah, it was cool to see a river for once. Also, someone noted this right here, and this is very cool. It says,
Skyrim doesn't have rivers because it needs to be unique. No, but please, keep telling me about how realistic Starfield is supposed to be. You can't walk on gas giants.
Houses on Jemison are built using concrete 3D printers similar to Techland to be used on the moon, Mars, Earth in real life. This is really cool detail right here, and explain.
This is 100%, by the way, not what they most likely intentionally did. This is just an aesthetic they went with, probably.
Why the surface of these concrete homes look the way they do here on Jemison. This was posted by Unknown Dota. So great find right there. And you know, that's one thing that I love about Starfield. I really do feel like they sat down with engineers, NASA people, and said, what does the future look like? And they really did their best to try to make this.
How do you cope this hard? How do you get to this level? I can't. This is through the roof copium.
More realistic take on the future. Also,
it's not a realistic take on the future. This will never be a thing in the fucking future because it's pointless. It's useless.
Something that seems to be from Elder Scrolls, from Skyrim. Check it out right here. It says, I found a planet covered in Nirnroot. Oh, wow. Really? That picture alone makes some noise. This comes from Borthuis, who posted that one. And it does definitely look like Nirnroot. Now, we don't know if Skyrim and Starfield are perhaps in the same universe or not, but there's a lot of different Easter eggs.
No one honestly gives a shit.
Perhaps pointing towards that direction, possibly. Also,
Much
mentioning Easter eggs, check it out right here. Arrival Easter egg. It says they are coming. And look at that. It looks like it to me. I think someone is a fan of Arrival at Bethesda Game Studios. So yeah, I think that's
Wow.
actually on point.
Wow. No, that Easter egg just fixes everything bad with the game for me. Wow.
Now, we also have some news about, guess what? Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, I don't care about that part, honestly. It's like, who gives a shit? It's gonna be made on the same engine that Skyrim has been made, aka the same engine that this has been made on. It's gonna be great. Anyway, this was Quizzer Citizen. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye bye.